The guy. Yeah, just whatever they want. I know. To play tennis or whether it's, you know, but that's just me. You know, just wander on whenever they want. You look at your schedule.
Well, this Sunday we can't. If I do that on Sunday, I'm literally living with you.
No, I didn't live with you when let's do this. What about?
No, I don't. I still run.
Yeah, it's fun.
I usually eat this a little bit before. There's so much stuff. What about Saturday?
I don't see any problem.
Saturday's fine.
Rather than Sunday.
Yeah.
This Saturday.
This Saturday.
Jimmy's going to watch.
No. It's all weekend.
That was in the 11th.
Yes. Yeah.
Gee, what time do you run on Saturday? What about 10:30 on Saturday? Well, that's not here. Straight on. Okay, where's the first place that we want to see? There?
Yeah.
Saturday.
Great.
Port Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll be our first 90-minute session, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
And then if you want to schedule one for the following Sunday, we'll talk about it up there. But that's on-
She is.
I mean, we could do it on a Saturday too, but.
Are you ready? Mine only says 6:29, but
Yeah.
that's a 6:30. If that's a 6:30. Well, it's a little bit fast, but
Oh,
You do, yeah, that's the time in this case.
okay.
The chambers is 1 minute or 2.
Rub it in, yeah. Ooh, rub it in.
It's,
Is that what?
30, that's got the 30-minute there. It's like northeast of New York.
Oh,
really?
yeah, there is.
It's off by
Yeah.
half an hour, not an hour.
Yeah.
I clocked 5 minutes faster than that. Same with my.
It might be in Maine or.
It's like above, yeah, that's in that area.
Nova Scotia.
Yes.
Let's do my mic here.
In my clock in my house.
Where they landed all the planes.
I can hear you, Andrew.
Oh, mine's still at 6:20.
Landed there.
Okay, mine says 6:30.
There's a book about it. I have it if you want to read it. Overnight, the town doubled from 4,000 to 8,000 people.
Okay, I'm gonna get going, you guys.
With no place to put them.
Are you okay? You're about ready to follow?
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. For May 7th, 2024. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening, and just wanted to remind everybody to silence their cell phones. All right. Okay, we'll move on to special presentations and our announcements. This time slot is for informational presentations, appointments, and awards to be presented by the city council or to the city council. Looks like we have Liberty Arts, Kim Presley, and India Pratas. Is that how you pronounce it? Hopefully.
Bradis?
Freitas? Is it Freitas?
Freitas.
Okay. Haven't seen it spelled that way. This evening, Mr. Ledbetter.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Is this on?
Sounds like
Thank
it.
you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, I'm just gonna invite them to come right up to the podium here. And do we have a presentation that we need to pull up or? And you can adjust the height.
All right. My name is Kim Presley. I am one of the co-founders of Liberty Arts and currently the treasurer.
Yeah, my name is India Freitas. I'm the executive director at Liberty Arts Gallery and Studio.
All right. My goal is to give about a 6-minute picture, PowerPoint, a little bit of lettering, but not much to read, to give you back our thanks for the relationship we have with the city and to give you a little history for those that weren't here in 2007 when this whole project began. Next slide. The city purchased 108 West Minor Street in 2007 with a grant from the state of California that's to be used for ADA compliant restrooms for downtown use. And actually building on the plaza had some problems and this building was for sale and perfect. So that is what happened. The remaining money did put in the very nice restrooms at the back quarter of the building. Next slide. Leaving the front 2/3 that needed a little work. We're a nonprofit 501c3, and we were able to get grant money from the Norris Foundation to the city for the improvement of city property. We had volunteers, as you can see, doing the work. Next slide. We beautified the outside over the years. Monica Zinda, a weed mosaic artist, did the front door. Bill Dorovchik did the Art Deco Liberty sign. For those of you that don't know, the first block of Minor Street is designated Art Deco, not Frontier or Western. That sign has over 700 marbles in it, which is what illuminates at night. And it has been featured in craft magazines. It's really pretty great. Okay, next slide. We had our first opening May 9th, 2008. Next slide. Next slide. To a very happy community that packed the new gallery. You can see the new coffered ceiling and how beautiful the building is now. Next slide. Next slide. We have 9 exhibitions a year. We've had over 120 over the years. And these meetings, the exhibitions are decided by our community. Anyone who's interested in having a show, knows somebody, wants to see a theme, they come to our members meeting. We have one a year. And they use PowerPoint or slides to pitch their ideas. We work on three goals to be inclusive to everyone. Open calls, invite anyone to the theme. We currently have one at the gallery right now, Patterns in Nature. We have over 50 entries, photography, sculpture. The community gets very involved. Next slide. I just threw together some examples to show some of the variation of these shows. Horsepower, of course, had to do with horses. We had a carriage out in front giving rides. Next slide. The living show. You know, just put yourself in thinking, what could I bring to an art show that's alive? Next slide. Pop culture, very different. Next slide. Glorious Mud, a ceramics open call. Next slide. Which takes us to our local focus shows. And these are curated. This particular one was, or three actually, with Wairika High School advanced art students. We've had 3 over the last 15 years, most recently last May. And it's wonderful to include the youth that are just graduating that are interested in the arts. Next slide.
I just add to that, they also participate in curating the show with our exhibition director. So the kids actually get a chance to hang the show, to see what it takes to participate on every level, not just the painting part. So that's pretty cool.
And actually, the new art teacher, Nathan Chismar, came to the members show 2 years before to pitch it and to say that he would work with these students for 2 years to have gallery ready art. And they did a great job. Mount Shasta uses the gallery for their forgery show. Next slide. We also engage local musicians. You can see cowboy poetry, high school students for the high school show. Next slide. And then the last category are the bridge shows, in which we invite artists from outside the area to come in, share new ideas, art we haven't seen before. Micah is from Portland. Next slide. Mary L. Hartman, she was a botanical illustrator, which was super exciting and different, from San Francisco. Breakfast Club is a group of 7 artists have met for over 30 years in Berkeley. They do sculpture, painting. Next slide. Cuba. This was a group of LA photographers who had just gone on like a photo safari to Cuba, and they brought their work up in a photography show. We had Dembe Caliente from Ashland come down and do Cuban drums, and the plaza was alive. It's very fun. Next slide. This is a kind of a hybrid, a bridge show plus 2 veterans of the Vietnam War. Kendall Johnson is he's actually has a PhD in psychology. He's from the LA area. He's the painter and poet. And then you may recognize the piece by Dennis Smith, who has his large pieces up at the Living Memorial Sculpture Garden. We were able to get about 8 of his maquettes into the gallery. Next slide. And another bridge show plus, Coming Home, Renewing the World, featured tribal art. We've had 3 shows featuring different tribes. And next slide. They are really well attended. And we have represented artists from Karuk, Shasta, Yurok, and Tolowa tribes. Next slide. For the local focus and the bridge shows, we have artist talks usually at 6 o'clock. Our openings from 5 to 7. And they're very interesting and a lot of engagement with the community. Next slide. And then there's the fashion show. We have had 7 fashion extravaganzas out on the plaza. This is the audience getting ready for steampunk. And I recognize my dentist. Next slide. An example of some of the steampunk fashion. Next slide. These are from the La Fleur Botanical fashion show. Next slide. Runway Outre was something outside the box. The couple on the left, Those are pages from telephone books that have been fashioned and folded into garments. And you can see the gal in the middle is wearing decks of cards. And I believe Linda's wearing a dress made of tortillas. It's pretty entertaining. Next slide. Now, the most recent show was last September. The Divine Masterpiece asked designers to be inspired by a famous piece of art, a masterpiece that we would be able to recognize on the runway. Next slide. And this is Leah Dean wearing a mondrian. Connie Crode was our master of ceremonies. Next slide. And just really want to thank the city for the help in getting permits and permission to allow us to extend audience seating into the 100 block of Minor Street, and we still sold out. It's getting big and it's popular. Next slide. So that's it for the exhibitions. Quickly want to talk about explorations, which is our outreach to students. We started the very first year in 2008, and we have done it every year, including COVID, when we brought notebooks of art projects to 1,100 students that were at home with remote learning. Next slide. So classes sign up and they come to the gallery. They sit down, they learn about not touching, a little gallery etiquette, and then they learn about what the show is. And of course, they're always different. Like, what is this about? Here, B. Soule is explaining about what this is. Next slide. And then they walk around with the docent tour. This is Sharon Swingle, our new education director, and she'll point out things to look for, teaching vocabulary to the students, texture, symmetry, form. And the kids are great. They're engaged, they're respectful. Next slide. And then they get to, with their friends, walk around and explore this themselves. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And then finally, they are invited to create something that's based on the theme of what they've seen. This is Mary Carpelin, who's the Shasta, teaching how to make grass dolls. And then Ralph Starrett, who's Karuk, who is showing them how to make arrow shafts, actually. Next slide. And just a quick potpourri of things. Next slide. Next slide. It's got pretty busy in the gallery. And if you can imagine, you've taken a tour and now we have to step back and pull out tarps or tables. We did it for 14 years, but now we don't. Next slide. We rented the old Jupiter Salon next to Esperanza's, and the kids walk up here to do the craft or the creation. Next slide. Sharon Swingle, she's got this together, and she uses this demonstration table to explain to them what they're going to do. She uses examples of work to show, in this case, patterns. And in the meantime, the kids, all their work tables are set up. They're staged, ready to go. They have aprons if needed. Next slide. And you can see the tables, and we take up to 28 kids in there sometimes, and it is a little crazy. These are the schools that have visited in the last year. We have had over 800 student visits. Just calendar, academic year. Next slide. We also have visitors from Grenada Gardens. who do pretty much the same thing. We do bring out the tables there and they don't have to walk up the street. And last slide, I believe. Next slide. And the Siskiyou Opportunity Center. And that is my presentation. I think India has a few
Yeah,
things to say.
A few things to say. If that didn't convince you enough already, of the value of having Liberty Arts in our community, and just having art in general as part of our community, we would not be able to do this without the building that is provided at a very low price to us to lease. We take care of the plaza as much as we can. We take care of the building. We offer at least 8 or 9 events, public and free, to everyone. It's open truly. We try to invite literally everybody that we can through social media, through advertising. We don't have too many opportunities now, but we do it through the newspaper as well. We have gotten and everything that we do, we offer for free to the schools. We offer for free to the public, and so all of our art shows, we do not take any kind of commission. We give, if a painting is sold or a piece of art, we give everything back to the artist. Now they can donate back some if they like, but it's completely up to them. So we are truly a nonprofit and trying to really make a difference in the community, to bringing art for kids, for adults. And there's really such little opportunity in Siskiyou County for this exposure to gallery art, to different art. We try and change shows about every 7 to 8 weeks. We'll have a new show up. And that's really unusual for where we live. So it's a great opportunity for artists in our community to show their work, to be able to sell their work, for children to learn and have exposure to what art is, to confront difficult ideas through art, to bring different types of people together, and really to utilize a space in downtown where art can flourish. And I think we're really doing great things in the community, and I see it when I have be in the gallery and a 17 or 18-year-old kid will come in with somebody and say, "Oh, I came in here and I remember when I did this such and such project," and you can really see that it's made an impact on them. So I think the more and we can be able to afford having the opportunity to provide all this, a huge part of that is the fact that we could get this lease at such a reasonable price. So we wouldn't be able to do this without the city. We do get grants. We've gotten over $800,000 worth of grants in our existence, and that's through California Arts Council, Norris Grant, North State Community Foundation, from Pacific Power, the Ford Family Foundation, Mechanics Bank. We have a membership with about a little over 350 people, I think right now, are members. It might be even more than that because some of those are couples. So we're really, we're trying to make a difference, and we appreciate all the generous help that the city has provided and value our relationship going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Well, don't think we have to go for comments or questions, do we? Just a presentation, correct?
Yeah, it was just a presentation.
Okay.
I'm sure if you have questions for them, you're welcome to ask. But
Okay. Does anybody from the council have any questions or comments for the Liberty Arts they'd like to?
Comments.
Okay, comment. Great.
Thank you
Holly?
so much for coming tonight. Being relatively new to the city council, I really appreciate the history that you gave us tonight. I really enjoy the work that you do in the community. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Councilman Davis?
I had a question, but I think you might have answered it mostly. Your funding sources are grants
Our
and your
grants.
membership and,
Exactly.
okay,
And donations, yeah.
donations, yeah.
Just a comment.
Okay.
I just want to thank you guys for all the involvement, especially with the youth and everything, because it's a valuable asset, getting the youth involved in the arts and keeping them involved. You know, it seems like our school system just like really pushes academic stuff so much as far as that goes, and a lot on the arts and woodworking and whatever that may be. So I really appreciate you guys helping out the schools and getting them involved. We, number of years ago, we housed a young lady that her parents split up and moved away. And so she ended up living with us for about a year and finished out her senior year. But through art was her way of her release, her way of getting, to the next level. She actually ended up going to Europe and all different places, and actually had art exhibits in all different places. So she went to New York, lived in New York, and had art exhibits there. So the arts is definitely a valuable necessity for these kids to actually be able to get to another level and stuff. So it's neat to see that. So I just say thank you guys for everything. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, both of you, and everybody that's involved, and appreciate the Norris Foundation and McConnell Foundation, all of them for supporting. And I would call on our council, if you haven't had a chance, go down and take a look at the plaza. I know Jason, I've talked about it. I think this council needs to pony up $20,000 to $30,000 in order to fix the plaza back up. We've got a lot of cracked boards. We've got the wisteria has cracked a lot of things, and we have not been able to, my 5 years on the council, we've not been able to do any work on it. We haven't been, but it needs it, and it needs some TLC, and I would like to see it in the next 12 months. So if you get a chance, go down and look, because, we want to be good. We want to be good stewards of, for, Liberty Arts.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. And thank you, council members, and thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. All right. Okay, item number 3 is public comments. Public participation is welcomed and invited at all city council meetings. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on all matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the regular agenda. If your comments concern an item noted on the regular agenda, please address the council when that item is open for public comment. The city requests that persons addressing the city council refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, or disruptive remarks. Council members, when recognized by the mayor, may ask clarifying questions of the presenter, but no action may be taken by the city council during the public comment section of the meeting. Under the Brown Act, the city council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on all matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the agenda. If your comments concern an item listed under the public hearing or new business sections of the agenda, please address the council when that item is open for public comment. Please speak into the microphone from the podium. The podium electronically adjusts up and down to accommodate the speaker. Please state your name for the record prior to providing your comments. Please address the council as a whole. If you have documents to present, please provide a minimum of 7 copies. These become public record. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Since council is unable to take action on issues not on the agenda, your matter may be referred to staff for follow-up or placed on a future agenda. The public comment period is not intended to be a question and answer period or conversations with the city council or city staff. Do you have any public comment at this time?
Mariachi. Um, I tried to explain this to you before, but you didn't seem to hear me. This is the contract that you have with Discover Siskiyous. It is for Heritage Days, not Golden City. And you are about to allow them to close the street for something that does not exist. And that is Golden City Days. You do not have a contract for Golden City Days. So what you are doing is setting a precedence saying that anyone can come in, fill out paperwork, come here. You'll say, yes, I can do this. I can have hop sock hop in the middle of minor, have it closed, and then when it's time for the sock hop, I can actually do naked body painting. And we know how that went off. But if you allow this, I can do it. And there's nothing to stop me because you've allowed it. I asked you to bring these people back and answer to why they changed the name. You did not. You still have a contract. Heritage Days. It does not say Golden City Days. I'm asking you for the safety of our city to stop where you are and check this out, please. Thank you.
Any other public comment this time?
Just because I'm here, I do want to say that I don't know what's going to happen with electric vehicles. And I know South has the chargers at Walmart and Tesla put in the big supercharger down there. If it turns out that the superchargers change their format and other cars can also use them, or there is call for more chargers in the future, and I know there's a debate on if that would happen or not, but if that is what's going to happen, I would really like there be some consideration for placing chargers downtown. And I say this, of course, because I want more people downtown, but as a driver of an electric car, I know where the good chargers are. And I know where the scary or boring ones are, where there's no restroom, no place to really stop and get a good cup of coffee. You just will plan your trip differently. You'll bypass that city. And if you have a good place to stop, like the best Sundial Bridge now. Sundial Bridge, you park your car, you go in, you spend money and you get a cup of coffee and a pastry, use the restroom, walk across the bridge. I look forward to it, instead of going to a gas station or a charger someplace where you feel like you need to lock your car. Downtown could be perfect for this. There are places to get a cup of coffee. There are fun things to walk up and down the street. It would be a place I would come back to over and over, as long as it was safe. And of course, at night, nothing's open. But just consider it if it ever comes up again, where there are the chargers installation with Pacific Power for a while were pretty much free. Just that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
All right. Any other public comment? All right. If there's other public comment, I would close the public comment section. And we'll move to 4, this consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered routine and non-controversial and will be enacted by one motion unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion. I did have a request from Councilman Baker to remove item number 4G. That is 4G. That's the opposite. I'll need to read it to you. It's 4G on the consent agenda, if that's okay with the council. She asked to remove for discussion. 4G.
That's 4D then, since it was brought up. 4D is about.
Do you want to pull that for discussion as well? Okay, so we'll.
We just go further, put 4D and 4G on for our next meeting. And not do it on this meeting. I'm sorry, Paul. Combining deity. No, put them on the next meeting.
Okay, so
Tonight, let's put them on the next meeting.
so let me
Because we're not prepared to
okay,
discuss them.
right. Let's not have discussions back. Let's not have discussions back and forth. So so I have a request from Councilman Baker for 4G to be go for discussion, and I have a request from Councilman Baker, and a request from Councilman Cake for 4D to be pulled for discussion. Councilman McCoy is requesting that we move those 2 items to a further meeting. what are the wishes of the council? I'd rather, oh, Councilman, or, sorry, Mr. Lebe.
Yeah, just for clarification purposes, and you may want to chime to your attorney,
Okay.
my understanding on the consent agenda, it does not take anybody except one council member to request it being pulled. It's not a consensus of the council.
Okay,
It then just gets removed. It's added to the agenda after the consent is voted
Correct.
on. And at
discussion.
that point, you guys can make determinations to maybe address it at a future meeting, making no decision tonight, but inevitably, generally speaking, and we can go to Mr. Jarrett on this, is it just takes one that somebody would like to discuss it, you remove it, you vote on consent, and then you just take that item like a normal new business item immediately following consent.
so we have two requests, item D and G. Okay. Is he on the line? Oh,
Is he gonna speak up?
Mr. Jarrett, are you there?
You asking me to speak on this?
Yeah, so we just remove, or not remove, but we just have items D and G on the consent agenda removed and go for discussion.
Yes, all the items on the consent agenda are provided for you tonight to act upon, whether they're acted as one item or pulling all 10 and talking about all 10 individually. As two have been pulled, those two should be addressed separately and will be appropriate right now is a request for a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda items. What would that be? 4A through F, H, and
J.
whatever the items were, the remainder of the consent agenda item. That's what you need a motion for at this moment.
Okay. You have a question? Councilman McCoy has a
Just
question.
heard from the city manager that we don't need a motion to remove it, that any one person can remove it. So are you now contradicting what the city manager is telling us?
Not at all. I'm saying that what you need right now is a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
Okay.
We put
So-
way too many items off of the consent agenda. The consent agenda is exactly, we're doing the business. This is the mundane stuff. We pull way too many items off. We need to start maybe sitting down as a council every week every 2 weeks with our city manager and let him know what we want and don't want on there. Because we're pulling off way too many items off the agenda, and I'm not picking on you or you. It's just, it's been happening for the last, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months. And so then it makes it just much more difficult to run a business meeting
Okay.
and more time consuming. So.
All right, thank you, Councilman McCoy. So do I have a motion for approval for,
Mr. Mayor,
okay?
may I get
Yes.
in on this conversation?
Yes,
please?
Councilman Davis.
I personally don't think anything after item B should be on the consent agenda. So, I think everything A, B, and C are consent agenda items. The rest of them are individual items. That's my opinion, but I can see that some of us think that the other way, so that's fine. I'm okay with that. But D and G definitely need to be off the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
do I have a motion to approval for A through F, and then H through J? Do I have a motion for it? Okay. I have a
Actually, there
motion.
was a request also for 4D to be pulled, so it would be
No.
A through C.
I said for, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 4D. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
I'm
my
sorry.
suggestion
So
is,
correction.
that it's just that what you want is to approve the consent agenda as presented minus items 4D and 4G.
Okay, so we'll just make that a motion. Okay, so I'll
So
clarify. So let me read it again. To have a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing for items D and 4G. I have a motion from Councilman McCoy. To have a second.
I'll second
And a
it.
second from Councilman McKay. All right, I'll go for a roll call. Whew. Councilman McKay,
Aye.
Councilman Davis, Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
And Mayor Middleton, aye. Okay, so the motion passes. So now I'll go back and I'll read the, I'll go ahead and go through now the agenda that are the ones, right? I'm getting thrown off here, but let me, because I have to go through it now. So would you have a question?
Well, we just approved the consent agenda without D and G.
Yes.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we move D and G ahead to our next meeting, put them at the first of the meeting, so that we can discuss them at length at that point in time,
Okay, but
rather than
Okay.
discussing
Okay.
them now.
okay, I think we're jumping ahead. You
I'll
guys,
second that motion.
hold on a minute, you guys. Hold on. I think you guys are jumping ahead. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Jared. Did you say I have to have the motion, or because I got confused because people jumped in? Did you say I had to have the motion to approve the consent agenda, removing those items? Now we have to go back and approve items that were not that are still on there, correct?
Yeah, if
So-
you don't mind if I can jump in, this is the
Yeah.
city manager. So what you're gonna do now is we're gonna have these items, or they've now been placed on the regular agenda. You're going to have an introduction. I'm gonna come up and introduce these items to the city council. And at that point, the council can make we'll go to public comment now on each of these items because they have been removed from consent.
Okay.
And then you may have a motion to approve, or you may have a discussion to maybe kick to a later date.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Okay, sorry. Okay. Just wanted to make sure we're in line here.
Mhm. Yep.
Hmm.
Mhm. Very good.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll start with 4D. Mr. Ledbetter, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? Rhetorical question. Cindy,
always
am I
hear you.
coming across all right back there to you? Okay, thank you. So yeah, we actually have our planning manager, Alia, is on the line as well for this. So ultimately, in order to do certain actions for some events, generally speaking, we bring a resolution forward. So in this instance, there's a resolution. You guys already approved the contract for a number of events with Discover Siskiyou. This is a resolution ultimately approving, say, the street closure and then some other aspects of the event that require council approval based off of our Muni code. So not sure if there's specific questions. It sounds like there's some questions that really can't be necessarily engaged tonight if it's just specifically the name, but it sounds like that may be the question. So I'm not 100% sure how to engage this item without maybe some feedback from the city council as to what exactly you'd like to know about this particular item.
Yes, that what was brought up.
Councilman Kay?
Oops, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can I go?
Yeah, so
I'm sorry.
yeah, I'll just go ahead. Well, let me go first. I'll just so it was brought up that the original, when they came to us for the event, they put Heritage Days, and they did specify that it could change. However, I guess probably the contract still states maybe Heritage Days, but has that been revised to Golden City Days? And is that just something in that they changed since they did? If we just revise the contract to say Golden City Days. So I'll go ahead and let Mr. Kaeg, since he did ask for it, but that's what I'm under the impression.
Yeah, so ultimately, if I can recall, and we can go back to the actual tape at some point if you want to, but there was confusion over Heritage Days, and I can recall at this podium, Sarah Ebrins and Heather Cipollini, I think is her last name now, made the statement that, oh no, that was like a placeholder, that they were going to seek a name, like that was just, they were seeking a name that kind of paid tribute to the heritage of the city. And so ultimately they landed on Golden City Days, I'm assuming because Wairika is considered the Golden City. I'm not sure if people know that, but we have pins that say Wairika Golden City. It's all over our website. We call ourselves the Golden City. So I'm assuming that's why they came up with that. I'm not really sure if this is the appropriate time to discuss a name change. I think ultimately, in my personal opinion, it's been approved to move forward. You have some folks putting on the event that ultimately have advocated to have some type of marketing change for the event. Without them here this evening, I'm not sure how that decision process could be changed at this moment. I don't think there is any issue with moving forward because we signed some agreement over this. I don't see concern in that fashion, so.
Councilman Cake?
I guess my only concern, as long as we're doing our legal due diligence, I guess would be the main thing. So.
But I mean, I will say this is that ultimately, I think Councilmember Baker had made this statement in the past. Maybe this was in conversation together. I thought it was in this space, is that and I think you as well, Mr. Kaeg, there sounds like there is interest in having this conversation and possibly not being comfortable with the name change and advocating to have Discover Siskiyou come back here and have that discussion. But I was under the impression we were going to do this event as is and then have that discussion after they're done with this event based off of if they don't like the engagement of the name change. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying, like, we don't want to lose them as the event planners of this particular event.
And I have no problem with that myself. I just, like I said, I just want to be legal is all my main thing. That's, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Councilman Baker?
Thank you. Mr. Jared, could you weigh in on this for us? There was concern that there was a contract that was signed with the name Heritage Days, and that name has since been changed.
Certainly. I think the two parties who have the ability that have entered into that contract are the city council and Discover Siskiyou. They have the basis to raise any challenge to that someone hasn't fulfilled their contractual obligation. And Discover Siskiyou is making the request. You have the ability to acquiesce to that request. I don't believe that it would be a breach of contract to have this event go as Golden City Days instead of the former name that was identified in the contract.
Needed.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Baker, and thank you, Mr. Jarrett. Any other questions from the council before I go to public comment? No. Okay. Public comment regarding 4D.
Audrey. I know, and I had a real fit about the name change. I was gonna settle with Heritage Days, and even now, I'm okay with Golden City Days. But I'm not okay with still in fact that it does say it's a contract. I didn't make that up. And it says expanding Gold Rush Days into Heritage Days. That is still a problem for me. It sets a precedence, and all I'm saying is I like our city to be safe from people doing crazy things like I just told you. You know, not answering, just changing something willy-nilly was wrong in the first place. I tried telling you that. Being fluid is not okay when you're up there. It's your job to make sure that this city is safe. A fluidity like that, well, we might change the name, we might not. They have a contract. That is what I'm saying.
All right.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Good evening.
Tanya Dowse, and I am with the Siskiyou Economic Development Council, and Discover Siskiyou is one of our programs. And I would just like to encourage you to move forward with this resolution. I know that a lot of moving parts are in play to put on an event of this size on behalf of the community. And I know that any delay causes a lot of anxiety and may even cause additional impacts on the event. So I know it's on your agenda, and I just encourage you to move forward.
All right. I can read that. You can ask them. Okay. Any other public comment? Okay. And I do have another question. It looks like now I have to go out to public comment. If anybody has any questions on your question you're going to ask, so go ahead. Go ahead.
This question is for City Attorney Andrew. Does changing the name de facto change our liability in the matter of this outdoor event?
I do not see how that would apply. This is such a minor change in the scope of things. It's clear between the two parties involved, the Siskiyou, Discover Siskiyou and the city council, that you want this to happen. The event that is contemplated is still going forward. And I don't see that they somehow would not be fulfilling their requirements to produce that event under the contract.
And when you said minor, that was tongue in cheek, I know, but if we changed the name, if the name were changed, say it was changed to Heritage Days from what it is now, does that then change the nature of the contract whereby they can do anything they want? They can bring in body painters, they can bring in strippers, they can bring in, whiskey distillers and that sort of stuff. Are we changing the nature of the contract under California law to allow them to expand what they're doing? Or to let somebody else come in and sign a contract in 6 months to say, put on an art show and then decide that they, rather than doing sculpture, that they are then doing body painting or nude dancing or whatever?
Not at all. This does not change the scope of the contract. It does not change the application that's being applied for. All of those other types of characteristics that you're describing about different types of events being there have nothing to do with the name itself, the title on a banner that might, or flyers or website that might go out. The content of what is to be produced is not what we're discussing about this being changed to.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Any other comment after Councilman McCoy's public comment after the question was asked? Okay. All right. So now I will go to 4G. Short-term memory here. What's are you? Oh, we'll go vote on 4D.
Sorry,
I'm
this
sorry.
is just a normal item now.
Okay,
and it just makes a motion.
I'm skipping ahead. I'm sorry. My mind's pretty like off. Jeez, got to get it together here. Okay, so consent agenda item 4D. This is adopting resolution of 24-19 of the City Council, City of Wairika, approving street closures and other requests for the special event known as the Golden City Days. Councilor Davis?
I believe Mr. McCoy and I have a motion on the floor.
Nope.
Well, we have to make that again if we're gonna.
We have to make it again.
Yeah.
Well, then I was gonna withdraw my second so that we could proceed.
Withdraw my motion. So, yeah,
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate we're on the same, we're communicating. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion to 4D is presented.
Okay. I have a motion from Councilman Kaeg,
I'll second the
Okay.
motion.
and I have a second from Councilman Baker. I'll do roll call. Councilman Kaeg.
Aye.
Councilman Davis.
Aye.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
And Council Middleton, aye. The motion passes 5-0 for item 4D on the consent agenda. Okay, now we'll move on to 4G. This is the matter of adoption of, oh, I don't have to read it. Go ahead. 4G, Mr. Ledbetter.
Yeah, thank you very much, Wairika City Council, Mr. Mayor. This is Jason Ledbetter, the city manager. I'm joined today by Tanya Dowse, the executive director of the Siskiyou Economic Development Council. So just to give you some general background, the Economic Development Council holds an MOU with pretty much all of the incorporated cities and the county, and it is combined as one MOU. The current one is up at the end of this fiscal year. So starting July 1st, we would be out of MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. And this is a document that literally kind of sets the table for the Economic Development Council to do a number of projects within the county. This time frame is really very basic as far as I think the history of the document. Every 5 years, it comes back up with possibly some minor alterations, some cost changes, and it comes back to city councils all over Siskiyou County and then the Board of Supervisors as well. And so Tanya and the Economic Development Council is on tour at the moment, I guess, with city councils all over Siskiyou County. And so if there's any specific questions I can go over, and certainly Tanya Dowse is here to answer questions, but ultimately I will leave it up to the city council to kind of direct what those questions are and what other information you need. But ultimately, this is the document that ties the relationship with the Economic Development Council and the city of Wairika together, that then leads to a multitude of different projects. The most famous, I think, in the past have been Tractor Supply, ultimately cleaning up that property with the Brownfields EPA grant, getting Tractor Supply onto that property. That was the Economic Development Council. And then the most recently that I think is in the back of everyone's mind, the Carnegie project, that it all comes through the relationship of this MOU. So I will kick it over to Mrs. Dowse.
Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter.
Thank you very much. And it is my pleasure to have a few minutes of your time this evening to talk about this relationship, this collaborative working relationship that we've had for so many years. My name is Tanya Dowse, and I am the director of the Siskiyou Economic Development Council. And I would share with you really briefly, I promise I won't go on for too long. The city of Wairika was a founding partner of our organization in 1985. And we were one of the early organizations supporting economic development at the community level, certainly on the West Coast, if not in the nation. There's not very many older than us. And one of the reasons that our organization was founded, and we've served this community for all those years continuously, is because our small jurisdictions do not have the financial wherewithal as individual communities to field a professional economic development staff. If you were to look at the city of Reading or the city of Medford, you would see an entire team of professionals working at the city on behalf of economic development. And here in Siskiyou County, we know that our jurisdictions work hard with very few resources, and together we try to serve a shared work plan. I have been on tour of city councils. I put on a lot of miles in the last few months, and I will tell you that it feels really good to hear the affirmations from our local communities, because in the work that I do so often, it feels a little bit removed from the opportunity for affirmation. But I will tell you, and I'm going to say this on record, that Wairika is just fundamental to our existence. You as a council, your city manager, your city staff exerts so much leadership in the work that we do. Our staff is headquartered here in Wairika. You're our county seat, and you're part and parcel to the work that we do on behalf of our communities. It's been an honor all of these years. I never thought for one second. I remember meeting Mr. McCoy the first time I brought my children to Siskiyou County, to Wairika. And it's been an honor all these years to have raised my family here and to work on behalf of this community. I'm certainly willing to answer any questions. I like easy ones better than hard ones, but I'll step up to the plate and answer hard ones too. Your investment that you make is the only investment that we have that allows us to field this whole slew of work that we do. It is the match that we pledge for our Small Business Development Center. It's the match that we pledge when we apply for brownfields funding. You would be hard pressed to look at a business or commercial venture in Wairika that we didn't touch in some way, shape, or form in the last, well, for me, it's 20 years, but it's really 40 years for you. On that note, can I answer any questions?
All right, I'll go to City Council. I'll go to Councilman Baker first, since he pulled the
Thank you.
item
And,
for questions.
I appreciate fellow council members having this pulled off for discussion, because I do have some questions, and I'm not sure Mr. Ledbetter or Mrs. Dowse, either one can handle these. And my questions in no way reflect any kind of diminishment of the work that the Siskiyou Economic Development Council does. I just have some questions about the document itself. And so I'm just going to jump right in with those. And I even wrote them out so I would not forget. So, Mr. Ledbetter, it's my understanding that this MOU, the amounts increased.
Yeah, there has been an increase. Is it, off the top of my head, I think it's like a $5,000 increase year over year. Does that sound accurate to you?
For a total increase of 20%, I believe so.
Okay.
So I missed any kind of justification for that increase. That's a question that I have. How it's a 20% increase. How can we justify that?
Can I speak or should I let you?
No, I believe this question is directed towards you. Is that?
Yeah.
I always know when to take a second seat. Thank you for the question. So we meet together as a team with the city managers and we talk about how and what the value of the work that we're doing. We haven't had an increase in many, many years. In fact, many years. And so it reflects two things. One is it reflects just the general cost of business increases that we've all felt over the last several years. And secondly, I think it is really a merit increase based on just the sheer magnitude and value of the work that we're doing, in particular within our communities in the city of Wairika. So I think that you're all familiar because we try to share with you our programs, but they've grown from being, just a small 1 or 2 person shop to there's several of us professional full-time employees working on behalf of Wairika doing economic development full-time. So it's twofold.
Thank you. So Mr. Ledbetter, you had a say in this increase or?
No, I didn't. I mean, the document comes to us kind of with the increase already built into it. We didn't sit down and kind of discuss what that increase would look like. I think internally, I'm assuming that you guys looked at your cost of employees and the increased cost of whatever health benefits, the normal stuff. And then ultimately that decision was made. And then, because we're a part of a larger organization here within that MOU, we are one of 9 or 10 agencies within that MOU. So it comes to us, we've made no alteration to the document.
Okay, thank you. And I know the history of this MOU is that it's for 5-year periods. I'm just not comfortable setting aside funds for 5 years, not knowing, the city's fiscal impacts. And I read in the MOU that we can give I believe it's a 90-day notice to get out. But I just have to say that I would be more comfortable with a 2-year agreement that coincides with our budgets that we adopt. So I'm just going to go on record as saying that. And then who sets the goals and objectives for the work plan and the work for the city of Wairika?
Yeah, so ultimately we did Alia worked on that work plan, just trying to get some level of kind of directionality to moving forward with this agreement, to have some understanding of what the deliverables are specifically to the city of Wairika, because it's built out for more than just the city of Wairika. So it was a combination of engaging the Economic Development Council probably over the last 8 months, and then inevitably working back and forth, trying to get some of the items that we know we would like to get looked at, and then based off of the comfort of the Economic Development Council as to what they're comfortable those action items being. So we really focused primarily on our empty storefronts and the possibility of improving them with actual business.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that at the budget last year or at some point in time within the last year, the city set some strategic plans And I'm sorry, I don't have those in front of me. I would be interested in taking some time to see how this MOU, this work plan, ties into the strategic plan that we've agreed to. I think that that's important. And specifically, I remember last summer or last fall, we had a really nice presentation about tourism and a tourism study that was done and some recommendations. And the city council voted to support that plan. I'm not seeing that plan referenced in this document. And so I just feel that this document needs some work for the city of Wairika, because as it's written, I personally am not comfortable with, we've got a strategic plan for budgeting. We've we've agreed to support a tourism plan. And I just want to see that reflected in this MOU with the Economic Development Council.
Yeah, I would suggest if you're interested in that, you know, based off of the feedback from your peers here, the other council members, there is an opportunity. Hypothetically, we did get, you know, an HDL audit, another one for TOT as they go through and, you know, they fulfill their commitment to do audits for us. So we have that. Emily and I are going over that. We're going to call another finance committee meeting to go over that. And so I think that more than likely in the next 2 weeks, we'll be having a finance committee meeting. And so if it's something that the rest of this council wants to do, and obviously we need to hear from Mrs. Douse and her flexibility on what you're bringing up here. But I think that the finance committee would be the tool to go through what these deliverables are, that then basically like the workshop of a couple council members and some staff. And then even we can invite EDC to that meeting and then get something that's more agreeable to your perspective. And then that can come back to a future council meeting. But I would kind of be more curious as well to hear if that's amicable for the EDC and whatever else the rest of the city council feels.
I have, if it's all right, I have a few comments in response to the questions. First, regarding the time frame for the work plan, the nature of economic development is kind of a long-term investment. For many of the projects that we work on, it takes time, years of commitment to make them happen. I can share with you that we've talked about the Carnegie Library for a couple of decades. We've worked on it in earnest for at least 5 years. And now it is coming to fruition. I corresponded with Grocery Outlet personally for 7 years before that company made an investment in Wairika. And that's kind of the nature of economic development. So there's kind of two things I want to say about the time frame. One is the commitment that we as an organization and an employer who has to secure professional talent, and that we need to be able to make, you know, multi-year commitments in order to do that. And then the nature of that work that we do, I wish I could tell you it returned a much faster ROI, but it is a long-term, it's a long game effort. And regarding the shared work plan, there's kind of two things that I would like to say. That one is I'm super proud of Wairika for asserting themselves in the work that we do. And a couple of things have come up. One is we have this, what I'll refer to it as the shared work plan, which is embedded in this MOU. And it is a document that we have worked on for many years, but in particular, this version of this document, we have been working on it in earnest since January, working with our cities to try to capture and include and state shared priorities to the best of our ability so that we can align those priorities underneath this MOU. In addition to that, the city of Wairika has led the charge to say, we want more. This is not enough. And we want your professional expertise and attention on projects that are singularly in priorities for the city of Wairika. And as a result of that, we have a professional services agreement with Wairika, and we are privy to a shared or excuse me, not a shared, but a priority work plan for the next 5 years on behalf of the city of Wairika. Within that 5-year work plan, some of the work is well encapsulated within this shared work plan, and some of it stands alone as work on behalf of Wairika. So I think that's really helpful. And we've encouraged all of our jurisdictions to do that because that allows us to plan accordingly and to staff up or gain the expertise that we need. I feel like there was one more question and I am, gosh, I'm doing pretty darn good to get 2 of 3, right?
I think that you guys did when I first came on in July, RERC.
Yes, correct. Correct. So the RERC was an example of a multi-layered effort. Again, back to this, like, sometimes you build something, you seed it, you come back, you revisit it, you do the pre-development work, and eventually it comes to fruition. And I also am glad that you remember that work plan because that was a moment in time in which we really focused this community on the possibility of the travel and tourism industry as a driver for its future and economy. And I think this event strategy that we talk about is part of that result of that. In fact, I can tell you with great certainty that it's part of a result of that. So it's good. It's good. It's not going away.
Thank you. And then I had just one other question. And that has to do, I read about the steering committee that's talked about in this document. Who are the members of the steering committee? How are they selected? What terms do they serve? Take it away.
Absolutely. So there's not as much formality in this as you might want. The steering committee is comprised of the city managers in the cities that we have city managers in. In some of our cities, we have the highest ranking official might be a city clerk. I will also share with you that there's been an added nuanced layer this year and that the city managers from the I-5 jurisdictions have coalesced and they would like an additional strategy on behalf of the I-5 as far as the development possibilities and potential. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's one of the things. So we get them together. We strive to meet monthly, but really realistically, it happens every other month on best because they're busy folks and trying to get them all in one room is hard. It's city managers. They sit down, they share generously constructive feedback and we respond accordingly. As you pointed out, the document is sets the stage and the compass for our work, but it doesn't have a lot of teeth. You could drop us at any time, really. So we know that. That's why we're super responsive to your leadership. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
City managers are your steering committee.
Okay. All right. So thank you. So I appreciate you being here. And again, I appreciate the wonderful work that you do on behalf of the city of Wairika, as well as Siskiyou County. And my concerns in no way reflect your finished products. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Baker. Any other council members have questions for Councilman Davis?
Tanya, I kind of have a question here about where you're headed in the future. Do you have some things on the stove that you're kind of leaning towards and you're going to be sending your troops after, so to speak?
Yes, definitely. Thank you for the question. So a couple things have happened. Working on the Carnegie Project, bringing to fruition this really complex, layered financial plan to make it happen has been kind of a bucket list project for me, if you will, in my career. And my career's not done, so I might have another bucket list in me. But I'd love to work on more redevelopment projects in particular and use the lessons that we've learned with these tools to make more projects happen. I see a lot of potential in Wairika. I think these tools can also be applied across our communities. The other thing that we've worked on that I'm particularly proud of, and this is a little bit outside of your scope, but I wonder if you might appreciate hearing about it. But we worked on a study in the city of Mount Shasta to bring an enhanced infrastructure financing district. We are California's most rural infrastructure financing district. And I'm very proud of that. And I'd love to apply those tools across Siskiyou County. It's another source of providing capital to spur redevelopment or investment in a community. Currently in Wairika, we have a project where we're doing some analysis around industry clusters and business incubation strategy. I'd like to see where that takes us. There is a marriage between those two studies that takes us into the next step. We had the opportunity, you're probably regretting the question right now. We had the opportunity yesterday to hear from our regional economist out of the Department of Labor for the state of California. And he talked about workforce challenges, and he talked about housing challenges. And it's funny, I've been in economic development a long time, and I have come out of the age of industrial development, and I've gone through the period where we stayed hyper-focused on business strategies. And now I see that there is a much bigger picture at play. And I'd love to be part of that, whether it's just a member of a team or a driving force behind helping solve some of these more complex problems. I just love this question. I'm going to stop talking.
Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate that. The look to the future is kind of important to us. With, as Colleen says, that's a substantial sum of money for us to be
Yes, absolutely.
trusting your way, which we do, of course. But
I understand.
we just kind of like to see where you're going to go
Mhm.
and what benefit it's going to have to the city of Wairika. Because that's, we all hear, we have a large concern for the city of Wairika.
Absolutely. And I value and appreciate the job that you have to do. Mr. Ledbetter and I had the pleasure today of being present when Vital Vacuum was presented with an award for their commitment to renewable energy. And when they told us that they are making such a substantive investment in Wairika, and they have 250 manufacturing jobs right there in our community, that's huge, you guys. That's a big deal. That's real value right there.
Thank you again.
Okay. All right, great. You're good? Councilman McCoy? Okay. Councilman McCoy?
Thank you. So, Mrs. Doss, we appreciate you being here tonight. I have made a few notes. I was gonna ask, I was looking at our inflation rate for the last 5 years. It's been 21.5% in the United States. And I know that she, Mrs. Baker asked a very good question about how did you arrive at the, you know, at 20%. I also know, as a being in business for myself, and I mean, no disrespect to the councilwoman, but I'd rather have a 5-year lease than a 2-year lease, because 5 years keeps my costs down, or any kind of a contract, and whether it's for, you know, whatever it was when I had Sears, when I had record stores in Southern California, we tried to lengthen the duration because it tended to make it easier on us. Because if we have a 8% inflation this year, you come back in a year and go, well, we want 10% for this year. So I mean, I support you there, you know, whether, you know, and I may be in the, but I mean, you know, the councilwoman makes a very good point, and I appreciate her point. I noticed on the, let's see, on your 5-year work plan, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate your answers to Councilman Davis. I noticed planning areas are Minor Street downtown.
1 second. Oh, and that's 107 if everybody wants to follow where he's reading.
Page
Page 107 of your packet.
107 and 136.
Okay.
The I-5 corridor, which we know is, we have over 1 million cars going through annually, probably more like 1.5 million to 2 million. The EPA community grant, which I'm not sure a lot of us have worked on. I know I've been fortunate to be involved in it on 2 occasions. And I do want to say that you have gotten, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but through Cal EPA, you've gotten our city tens of thousands of dollars in cleanup money to help clean up businesses and city property at no cost to the business or the city. And I'm gonna,
So that is a fact, is it not?
Correct. In
Okay.
fact, I think that if you were to actually do the analysis, we probably deliver more dollars into your budget than what you pay us out on an annual basis. I would just, Mr. Councilman McCoy, the 5-year work plan you're looking at is the Wairika specific one. that
I
you're-
know.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
No,
good.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Because I, in things that I know I've discussed
Uh-huh.
repeatedly with city, not just with, Mr. Ledbetter, but all of these things you have on here, like Franco-American Cooling Tower, Broadway Twin, Grandma's House, Shop Smart, all of that stuff. Yeah, we really want to get it, fixed up,
Mhm.
ready to lease or sell or whatever, and get businesses in it. I was talking to Victor probably been 6 or 8 weeks ago, and he said, I hope we can get another couple restaurants. He said, I'd like to see 5 restaurants down on Minor Street. And I said, really? Because usually people are like, real, no, I don't want another record store. I don't want another. No, he said, no, it's better for all of us. And we had somebody bring up tonight, something that Mr. Ledbetter's been discussing with this council, either individually or collectively, and that is electric charging stations in either 1 or 2 parking lots that are municipally owned, so that we can drive business there. I do want to point out to you that also looking at the north end of town and the south end, I know you've been driving business there with, whether it's the old county building or whether it's in the Hanley, in their plaza there. So I do appreciate that. I would appreciate, though, to just continue to look at your site assessments and just move forward, because you have really been helpful. And I'm not a rah-rah. I'm not a rah-rah. I go to Jason's office, he'll tell you sometimes, and just, don't I, Jason? And I'll give you a heck. But I look at this and then we talk about this, and then I think of the EPA, because specifically we did it on the Foothill property, but we've done it on other properties, on Broadway. We've done it down here on Main Street. And I can't help but think I don't know. I know what it costs just to clean up one property, but I can't help but think that that really has helped us. Now, the other thing is, and you can correct me if I misspeak, Mr. City Manager, but the other thing it shows the state of California is that we are taking pride in our city and we are cleaning up. We're taking the initiative to clean up EPA sites. We're not sitting back and waiting for the government to go, well, now you need to clean it up. We're doing that. And so I appreciate the relationship that the two of you have had since he has come on, because I know we've had more, again, when I look at the EPA reports, since he came on, it's been a positive relationship for city. And that's who I'm looking at. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Councilman McCoy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm done.
Okay. Okay. Well, great. I think, how do you?
Just more,
Okay.
just want to reiterate partially what Mr. McCoy is saying, that there's been a lot of other cleanups too. Like I said, Tractor Supply, I think even the stagecoach area.
Stage.
The out there at the meat packing plant, the pallet company that the fruit growers was doing at that time. So there's been a number of places that got cleaned up, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I could probably go on and on if I start thinking of all the other locations that they've been involved in and being able to get those sites cleaned up. So yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for doing that, because if not, then it does make us look bad if we try to dodge it, and then it comes back to bite us in the rear in the future. So this makes us look like we're doing our due diligence and trying to get things cleaned up and trying to get our house more presentable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gag. I'll just make a quick statement here is that I've been sitting here for 3 years already, a little over 3 years. I've been sitting here, me.
Oh,
What? Me?
Sure.
And just a lot of the projects that were pretty much already in the process when I took my seat here. Carnegie, a lot of the property claims were already in process when I was elected. And 3 years later, they're just now starting, or maybe even 2 years later on a couple of the cleanups or whatever. but they had been in discussion for 5 to 10 years. So it was crazy that I sat here and like, oh, well, this was started taking place. And I was really, and that's when I started getting a taste of government and how everything's rush. And then it's like, and then it goes real slow for a long time. So that was hard for me because I'm a get it done. Everything's fast. So I've had to learn that it doesn't operate that way. But since you guys your organization has been before me and the council's sitting here before, but I'll speak for myself that I've seen great success projects, hard work, the events you put on are like never have been done before, just on an upper level and taking it to a, whole nother scale. So I just want to say thank you because of what I've seen you do. And I just can't imagine what it would cost the city if we had, event planners or people who just focus on that job and the money we had to pay them each year or planning, to just handle all that work. When I look at, I can't make any predictions. I don't have any figures, but I imagine it'd be quite a bit more than what this 5-year contract is, just for a city employee or 2 or 3 or 4, probably in the city of Wairika. I know you said Reading and Medford have quite a few, but they're way bigger cities, and I get that. So I think it's definitely you're beneficial to us, beneficial to our city, beneficial to the county. So I thank you. So with that, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Okay. Okay. I'll close public comment. So we have, I think, a request that some changes be made. Councilman Baker, or where's the wishes of the council as presented, or do you want to bring it back?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion that this MOU go before the Finance Committee and then be brought back as soon as reasonably as soon as we reasonably can. I agree with my fellow council members that there is wonderful work that's being done. And I'm not in dispute of that. I just don't understand how priorities are set, how they tie into our strategic plan. And again, I just have concerns about, I understand the 5-year timeframe. I just have concerns putting money out there for that far in the future.
Yes, it's one. Right.
I appreciate what the councilwoman has to say, and I think this is something that probably should come in front of Finance Committee. I'm not sure that on this short timeline that this is the time to do it. I think we can look at it long term, but I'm going to make a motion to adopt the resolution of 2422 of the City Council of the City of Wairika, authorizing execution of the memorandum of understanding with Siskiyou County Economic Development Council for economic development services and approval of a $55,000 supplemental budget revision for fiscal years 25 through 29, committing $280,000 to the Siskiyou County Economic Development Council for the 5-year period.
I'll second it.
Okay. I have a motion approval of 4G on the consent agenda from Councilman McCoy and a second from Councilman Kaeg. I'll do roll call. Councilman Kaeg.
Aye.
Councilman Davis.
Didn't she have a motion?
Mm-mm. She did a request. She did not do a motion.
She never stated a motion.
And he jumped in and made a motion.
That was not a motion?
She never stated a motion, no.
She made a request and no one spoke up in favor of it.
I mean, she made a motion.
I didn't hear a
It just
motion.
wasn't
Okay.
seconded is that was what I heard.
I didn't hear a motion. I heard a request. So that
Would you
wasn't,
like-
that's not a motion in my review.
If it pleases the council, I'll rescind my motion. Is
Okay.
that what the council would like to see for now?
Yeah, and then we go back. So are you making a motion, Councilman Baker, for the whip to bring it back for 4G?
Yes.
Okay.
That is my motion, that it go before the Finance Committee for some further studies and then be brought back to the City Council for action
Okay.
as soon as possible.
So I have a motion from Councilman Baker to bring the item 4G back.
I'll second.
And I have a second, Councilman Davis. I'll do roll call. Sorry, Councilman Kaeg,
Nay.
Councilman Davis,
Aye.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy,
Nay.
and Middleton's a nay. The motion fails.
Now, I would like to, this is Councilman
From Councilman
McCoy.
Baker.
I would like to go ahead and make a motion that consent agenda item 4G, which was pulled off the consent agenda. We have been discussing it. I'd like to make a motion for the adoption of resolution 24 to 22 of the City Council of the City of Wairika, authorizing execution of the memorandum of understanding with the Siskiyou County Economic Development Council for economic development services and approval of a $55,000 supplemental budget revision for fiscal years 2025 through 2029, committing $280,000 to the Siskiyou County Economic Development Council for the 5-year period, which I said 2025 to 2029.
All right. I have a motion for Councilman McCoy.
I'll second it.
And I have a second from Councilman Kaeg. I'll do roll call. Councilman Kaeg,
Aye.
Councilman Davis,
No.
Councilman Baker,
No.
Councilman McCoy,
Aye.
Council Middleton Mayor Middleton be aye. The motion passes with 3 to 2. Ayes were Kaeg, McCoy, Middleton. Nays were Davis and Baker. All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we'll go to no old business, no public hearing. We'll go to new business. Item number 7, this is the planning manager. This is agenda title, special event known as Civil War Days. Joseph Allison, event sponsor, has submitted the attached special event application on behalf of the reenactors of the American Civil War, RACW, requesting a temporary use permit for the special event known as Civil War Days. The event sponsor is requesting that the Wairika City Council waive the fee of the issuance of a temporary use permit for Civil War Days in the amount of $942.55.
Yeah, thank you,
Yes,
Mr. Mayor. This is in Wairika City Council. This is Jason Ledbetter, the city manager. So just very specific here with what you're doing. You are not approving or denying an event. That is ministerial for this temporary use permit. What your purview is here this evening is the request to waive the fee. So the event has been essentially approved by our planning manager with the support from our city attorney. Having reviewed the documentation, we are aware this event has happened multiple times in the past here in the city of Wairika. So ultimately, we have a request from Mr. Joseph Allison, who is here this evening and is welcome to field questions if needed. But ultimately, this event, he is requesting to waive this temporary use permit fee in the amount of $942.55. The event will be inclusive to school-age children. I know that I'm already getting texts from my son's school that they will be attending this event. So ultimately, there is an educational component with no cost, I believe, Mr. Allison, for the children that will attend. Is that correct? So yeah, we're just here tonight not to talk about the specifics of the event, only about the cost and whether or not this council is willing to waive that fee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. Do you have any questions from the council members regarding the request to for the fee to approve or deny? There's 1 or 2 motions that we'll take action on. Is there any questions? Oh, sure. Come on up. I'm sorry. I thought he was.
2006. I have the pleasure of being accompanied by Shanna Shack, who is
Onto the podium. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Allison, because we won't be able to do the minutes because we won't hear your voice until you get closer to that. So
So start over for us. Come up to the podium.
Joseph Allison, and I'm the event coordinator since 2006. I'm accompanied by Shanna Shack, who is the school teacher that I'm working with at Jackson Street. And I've asked her to come just to say a few words about the value added to the children's education when we bring this program in.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm happy to be here tonight. The Civil War Days, as you've already said, has been going on for a number of years, and Jackson Street Elementary School has attended for most of those years, I believe. The school, the children are right now in the heat of the Civil War in the classroom and are learning everything that they can about the Civil War. And the Civil War Days is sort of a culminating activity that we try to make it so that we've gone all the way through the Civil War before we get to this event, so that the kids, when they go out there, can have some pertinent questions, know what's going on when Joe's talking or when the other community members who are present are talking. And it's just really exciting to see them go out there and really engage with what they've learned in a way that we can't get inside Wairika. Just, I mean, I can show videos all I want, but when you stand on the field and hear the cannons fire, it's quite a different experience than being in the classroom. So I just hope that you can support Mr. Allison and the people who work with him, because this is really something that the children will never forget after they've gone to their Civil War Days experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have been fortunate over the years. Most school days in the North State, the schools pay $5 to $10 per student to attend. We don't charge our schools. And this year, we're making it free to the public because it's usually a beautiful spring day to get the children off the couch and away from the keyboard and out into the Newton's lovely, well, it was called the Hog Farm for people who, old-time residents, down in the woods by West Side Road. And we do it all for free. So it's supported by the local business people who are generous and have provided the money to cover the basic expenses. But in all candor, because in all the years we've done it, the fee has always been waived. I didn't factor that into the budget this year, so we don't have the money to actually pay for it, which could be my problem. But I'm hoping you relieve me of that problem by approving it, and I'll entertain any questions.
Questions for council members?
I have a
Councilman
couple of
Davis?
comments.
Councilman Davis?
I live pretty close to where your Civil War Days, like maybe a quarter mile. And I had two dogs that were gun shy. And when you started firing your cannons, it was a rude awakening in our house. The dogs were everywhere. They're not with me any longer. So let's hope it's doesn't affect the one I have.
Well, usually the week before the event, I circulate through the neighborhood with little handouts and I put it on the doors to let
They were there. They were there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be making a lot of noise.
Yeah. And one other notable thing is that Mrs. Shack coached my daughter in basketball in 7th grade. Quite notable.
Definitely notable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had one other thought. I wanted to commend to your attention your employee, Leah Lesra, who was very helpful to me in working my way through this new process of a multiple page application form with additional protections for the city that I hadn't seen previously. But she was very helpful, and I was especially impressed that she actually took the time to call me to remind this senior citizen that it was on the agenda tonight in case I wanted to go, and I really appreciated that courtesy.
Great.
So thank you for your consideration.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay,
Both of you.
no questions. Any public comment? No public comment. Okay. So there's two recommend city council actions before you for the council. Number one is either to motion to approve the request to waive the temporary use permit fee for the special event known as Civil War Days, Our item number 2 is motion to deny the request to waive the temporary use permit fee for the special event known as Civil War Days. Councilman Cake.
I'll make the motion to approve the request to waive the temporary use permit fee as a special event known as Civil War Days.
Okay, I have a motion for item number 1 from Councilman Cake.
I know that this is Councilman McCoy. I know this is something that we've talked about on Finance Committee. I realize that, and it's something, it's a pain growing pain we're going through, but I am going to go ahead and second that motion.
Okay, I have a first and a second. I'll go roll call. This is to waive the permit fee this year for the Civil War Days, as he stated he wasn't aware of the policies moving forward. Councilman Cake.
Aye.
And Councilman Davis.
Aye.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
And Mayor Middleton will be aye. The motion passes 5-0 to waive the permit fee this year. All right. Thank you.
Remember that
Congratulations.
Mr. Talley always gives good firework for you, but he says the Confederates should be getting the majority of it. You're the native Virginian, I think.
He's a good Southern boy.
Yes, he's a good Southern boy, and he told me that 3 or 4 times.
Thank you so much for your time.
Have a good evening. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to item number 8. This is city manager and staff reports. City manager and staff may make brief announcements or reports at this time. Mr. Ledbetter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Wairika City Council. Once again, Jason Ledbetter, City Manager. So I have a number of things really to zip through here. For my city manager report here, 5/7 of 2024. It's been a few weeks since we've met. So on 4/17, I attended the Rotary monthly meeting with Fire Chief Lemos, and we gave the fire education presentation at that time. On Monday, April 22nd, Chief Lemos and I attended Jess Bray's government econ class at Wairika High School, where we gave the fire presentation to 5 classes that day. On Tuesday, April 23rd, Chief Lemos and I presented the fire presentation to the Wairika Police Department staff at YPD Station. On Wednesday, April 24th, I attended the Siskiyou Economic Development Council I-5 Corridor City Manager meeting at the SEDC offices in Wairika. We discussed the goings-on in the county and different city projects that people were working on. On Thursday, April 25th, Chief Lemos and I attended the Patriots meeting here in Wairika and gave the fire presentation, and shout out to Jerry for sticking around. He was there for about 3 hours. I was only able to attend for 30 minutes as I had my son was in a play for school. On Friday, April 26th, I attended the Wairika High School mock interview panels for seniors, where we interviewed students and gave feedback on their resumes, interview engagement, and then provided techniques to be successful as they enter the job market. On April 30th, I attended the community meeting concerning the housing project or possibility for the Payne Lane and Oregon Street location. On May 2nd, I sat on the City of Fort Jones interview panel for a new city administrator. On Saturday, May 4th, I attended the Coffee with Fire Chief Lemos event from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. On Monday, May 6th, Chief Lemos and I attended the Red Scarf Society board meeting where we presented the fire presentation. Tomorrow, Wednesday, May 8th, Chief Lemos and I will attend the Clerk board meeting where we will present the fire education presentation. Once again, we're on tour here locally. Thank you, Cindy, for that. On Thursday, May 9th, I will be attending the Siskiyou Conservative Republicans meeting, where I will be on a panel to discuss the state of Siskiyou County. The panel currently includes Supervisor Halp, DA Kirk Andrus, and Sheriff Jeremiah LaRue and myself, so it should be interesting. Finally, today I attended the Pfeiffer Vacuum, where they received an award from Pac Power for being carbon net neutral as they're purchasing renewable energy on the open market from Pacific Power. And then we did fill the OES Resiliency Officer position, and that person is going to start Monday, 5/13. And just a reminder, that's a grant-funded position, so all of that salary for the rest of the term of that will be paid for by the state of California. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. Okay. Right, I'll go to council members. Who wants to go first? Anybody want to volunteer? You want to go first? Okay, Councilman Coy.
I just want to say it was a great meeting on the housing project. I thought we got a lot of good feedback. It's wonderful to have a local boy that is coming back and wanting to do something here in the community. I also want to say thank you, Jerry, and I want to thank Jason for putting together the fire hall day so kids could come through and adults could come through, see the museum, see the fire hall. And they got to see the fire department in action as they were dispatched to Black's Appliances for a gas leak. So it was a wonderful day. You guys did a great job planning it. Please give my thanks not only to you, but please give it relayed to Jerry.
Great. Hey, Councilman McCoy. Councilman Davis.
Our Fire Safe Council was last Tuesday of the month, and we met, and the Outson Road project is front and center on their agenda. And if you're familiar where Outson, that's close to where I live, which is really good. And they're going to take a lot of there's a lot of dead pine over there. They're going to take it all down and drag up some of the blowdowns and maybe masticate it with some masticators that they got coming. So it's going to be good. It's going to be a lot safer over there as far as fire dangers is concerned. And some of my friends own quite a bit of property in that area. So that's going to benefit them, and that's good. So I just wanted you to know that that's coming up probably around June sometime.
Great. Yeah, that's a very
And I have
popular
one
area.
more comment, if you don't mind,
Sure.
Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Jerry and Mr. Ledbetter have been doing a tremendous job with their public, their advertising of the ballot measure for sales tax. Sorry, little senior moment there. But it's been really good, and you've worked well with the community, and you've worked well with each of us, I'm sure, especially with me. And so thank you, Mr. Ledbetter and Mr. Lemus.
Thank you.
All right. Council Baker.
Thank you. I will second Councilman Davis's comments about you, Mr. Ledbetter, and Fire Chief Lemus. I appreciate all the time that you guys are expending to go out and educate the public. I think, again, I just think that that's absolutely so critical. And the only thing that I have to report is that on Tuesday, the 23rd, I attended the C2C meeting, and there's the possibility that there may be some funding coming to C2C through OrCal RC&D strategic plan to benefit the entire county. That's all they would say. So anyway, exciting things happening there. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilman Baker. Councilman Kay.
So May 1st, I attended the COC, chaired the COC. A bunch of updates. Kind of the main updates, what a lot of people want to know is the Project Base Camp, the update on that, which is the shelter. Unfortunately, it's moving a little slower than most people want. I'll actually, in a couple weeks, I'll give you an accurate update on that. I actually have got and I haven't talked to Mr. Ledbetter yet, but I got an actual update of when that's going to be and the closer time frame that's going to be. They've had a few little setbacks, but they're moving forward. Things are good. It's just, unfortunately, it's taken a little longer than they anticipated. Beacon of Hope also gave an update. They're still, as Mr. McCoy was stated earlier, they're still funding shy of trying to get things done around there. So it's one of those things, if anybody wants to help them out privately, they need all the help they can get. They're supposed to bring back an update on that too, of what Michelle Gorman was going to give me an update on what services or what things they need done in that. And so I'll share with the rest of the council and everybody with those things that they need money for, they need services done, whether it be plumbing or whatever. So everybody will know. Michelle's going to give me O'Gorman's going to give me a breakdown on everything that they need cost wise. So the pallet shelter project that the county's doing on the city property is moving along really good now. Starting to see leaps and bounds. Madeline Bryan actually put out an RFP, request for proposals on people to actually run the shelter, run the pallet shelter structures. So that went out. And then the next step will be moving forward. So she feels real confident on everything, getting that done. There's a November date that needs to be met so they can meet their grant purposes, but it looks like they'll be able to get that up and going. They're really appreciative of the city and working with the city and city staff on how helpful that the city staff has been on this whole thing and wanting to get things done, and thanking the council for moving forward on this project too. As I stated before, it's probably one of the more, as far as homelessness, it's probably one of the more feasible projects that's going to help a lot of individuals off the streets and hopefully get them into services. One other thing that was updated too is we have and I think Chief will probably tell a little bit more in the future, but we have a new liaison officer, Sergeant Bucher, and he's been boots on the ground, up on the hill, getting the hill cleaned up, and really been doing an excellent job. And I'm sure Chief will give us an update soon on that. I won't take the sail out of his or wind out of his sail, I should say. But he gave us Sergeant Bucher gave us a presentation at the COC meeting, and it was excellent. He has a bunch of information. He's just, like I said, boots on the ground and been doing a great job. So really impressed with what he's been doing. We have, just so people know, pretty much every other week, there is the shower trucks that have been up at Lower Greenhorn Park for the homeless. I know people don't agree with them. There's a lot of the people in the community that don't agree with the shower trucks. I can say I agree with them in the aspect that it does help individuals. One of those individuals actually has been one of the gentlemen that's living at my shop right now that works at my business. I haven't had a shower set up for him. I got a bathroom and everything, but I don't have a shower set up for him.
Mhm.
So he's been utilizing it. He's been utilizing the laundry service. So it actually helps him. So that's one thing I can say, that's it's beneficial for some of these individuals so they can get cleaned up so they can go to work every day. And let me tell you, it's nice to have a clean guy working for you. So it's definitely beneficial for them getting jobs. The last one was Project Crossroads. I didn't elaborate on that. That one looks like they're taking applications, everything's moving forward there. They should be. I think I haven't got the exact date, but I know that there'll be housing some of those individuals soon now. So that's a big plus for Wairika, because we have 50 beds, basically 50 rooms, I should say, available, 49 to be accurate. But I know the number of the homeless individuals that have been applying for those. And these are individuals that have jobs. I know one gal just recently applied for one of those apartments, and she lives in Montague right now. She's in and out. She doesn't really have a place to stay. She's homeless. She works at a motel here in town. So she's been hitchhiking every day, literally every day, to come to work. So this will be a real benefit for her to be able to be in town to where she can, within walking distance, at least close walking distance to her work. So those are the individuals that you want to see. Give them a hand up. That's what you call a hand up and not a handout. Those are the people we want to move forward and better themselves, because they're trying. They really are. And those are the success stories. So with that, I'll just leave it at that and turn it back over to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Councilman Gay. All right. Thank you, everybody. A lot of good things going on. don't think I've attended any meetings, but so I don't have much. I just know it's that time of year where everybody's busy. Graduation's coming up and weather turning nicer, so a lot of projects going on. So hopefully we start feeling some spring and summer weather soon, and not the days we've been having where it's sunny day and cold. But this weekend, I think, yeah. So it's supposed to be 80s. So great. But like I said, I don't have anything else. Sound like a lot of great things going on. That's good news about the Fire Safe Council going to go out towards Outson Road, because we have a lot of our businesses out there and getting that cleaned up for fire anywhere in our city, actually, but especially out there where we have a lot of businesses and houses out there. So having that cleaned up with Fire Safe Council is great. And so with that, I want to thank you, everybody, and wish you all a good evening. All right, meeting adjourned.